just to get off to a glorious start. Hello! All right, are we having fun yet? Okay, I just thought I'd give it one last shot. Going into Facebook and seeing who's saying what and all the rest of it. And this was inspired by Sherry, who posted first of all and then a comment after. So I'll read to you what Sherry said. She said, just said this to Alex, then quoting Sherry, she says, do you really think that Brian, who exposes everything, could be so evil to add more bullshit on this planet and lie to the people when he exposes everything? Born on Rothschild Avenue, conceived April the 6th, Nisan the 1st, Hebrew, and then Math 1943, Life of Brian, Habsburg, serve the Queen of England and do it all for free for over 60 years and look like the shroud to a T and then lie to the people for shits and giggles? Question mark, question mark, question mark. All you have to do is get an anonymous person to interview him or call him yourself. You are good at sussing out liars, right? The quantum needs your part in this. So she sent that to Alex Jones, who has not made any attempt at all to interview Brian when he'll interview every other demon on the planet, so why not this demon? Right, babe?
Yeah, right.
That's what they're all saying. So anyway, now it's interesting because I read down to a Todd Kincaid, that's who he is, on Facebook. Brian's last name is Habsburg, question mark, Habsburg, like the Illuminati Habsburg family who also happen to be Jewish. Brian is not God, he is a demon-possessed false prophet. Wake up. And then he has a link to the jewishvirtuallibrary.org source Judaica, as if you're going to get the truth out of the Jewish encyclopedia. Okay, so what is it all about? I wrote this very long comment. Another launch, yes. In the hope of getting through to anybody out there, hello, who might get it. As it turns out, one has got it. I'll get to him after I read to the world once again what it is all about. So listen very carefully, world, especially Christian world. Here I go. The new name of God is Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall. Habsburg bloodline is through his grandmother, Mary Harrison. Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall has a value of 312, that's 312, in English gematria. You can read the prophecy of the new name of God in the Revelation chapter 3, verse 12. 312. A great big clue right there in the chapter and verse number. Then you can go over to the Revelation chapter 19, verse 12, and read again about the name written that only he would know. 1912 was the year of birth of his mother, the most royal woman on the earth, whose name was not Mary this time, but Daphne Golightly, married to Reginald Albert Michael Marshall, the most royal man on the earth. If you go and read the two verses before 1912, that's verses 10 and 11, they give the reader her birth date of 10, 11, 12. That is October the 11th in the year 1912. Verse 12 says he will have a name written that only he would know. Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall. The name of the Christ that he has been revealing to the deceived Christian world is the name he takes from his parents. Then go to the next verse, that's chapter 19, verse 13, where it describes, capital, the Word of God. The name from verse 12. So the Word of God, capitalized, came known as Jesus the first time, and a second time known as Brian. The Star of Bethlehem has occurred twice in history. The first time at the birth of Yahweh as Jesus on June the 17th in 2 BC, and the second time at his rebirth into Sydney, Australia on January the 11th, 1944. Go and check it out for yourself. He is rejected by all mankind who are supposed to be his wife, but have become the whore, fallen to the lies of the ones controlling, the builders of society, the Freemason influence, and behind them the Zionists who are behind Rome and behind the Jesuit. They control churches, education, governments, food, water, the air that you breathe, and all technology. They believe they are omnipotent through their USA war machine of mass destruction. Now, omnipotent means all-powerful, but it's through their USA war machine of mass destruction. Omnipresent, meaning everywhere, all of the time, through their spy technology into everyone's living rooms, through their telecommunications and satellites, hearing every word that you say, wherever you are, at any place on the planet. That's their omnipresence. No one needs to call themselves a Jew to be a Zionist. As Jesus, he prophesied he would be rejected when he got back at the time of the end. To be born again is to reincarnate. He comes this time not as the young buck known as Jesus. It's the same soul, the Father, Yahweh, this time grown up into the fullness of himself, just as you grow into the fullness of your soul, unless you are cut short through the poisoning of your mind and your body, and do not make it into everlasting life, which is lived out with Emmanuel, God with us, upon the earth, which is the whole point of the Lord's Prayer. The Zionists are the enemy of Jesus and have made the Christian the enemy. Protocol 14 states quite simply that we shall forbid Christ. They have, because they own everything. All media in and out of print. They know exactly who he is and have gone out of their way to ignore him so that no attention is drawn to what he is revealing. He reveals all things as laid out in the measuring of the creation. the numbers of the measure are translated into language using the James Strong's 1830 concordance of the 1611 King James Version of the Bible. The message is not in the words of the Bible, but the numbers. No man can comprehend the mind of God, and he, as Jesus, told no man to go write a book. Books cause people to become ensnared by its content instead of living the way, the truth, and the life. As Jesus, he was the example, and the reward of his own from that time is to find him again in this life of their reincarnation, to be gathered upon the earth along with him for the judgment of all evil. It's all happening now. In the revealing of the plans of the enemy, the potential we all know they are capable of, as revealed by the rising and setting of the sun, moon, and stars over specific locations at specific times. He, the Christ, reveals the potential, and then in the revealing, the danger passes for that moment until the next revealing. Mankind, made in his image, are waking up and are getting good at revealing the plans of the enemy. All that needs to be done is the exposure. The ones who cry false prophet when dangers are exposed and then do not come to pass are total fuckwits. They would rather these events come to pass, I suppose. The Illuminati games are just that, games, and their opponent is the returned Christ, Brian Leonard, Golightly, Marshall, the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And yes, Habsburg is part of his bloodline. He is king over all kings of the past and present, as you would expect God to be. By the way, he is here for the children. The adults are too far gone and caught up in the great delusion of religion. It smothers the only truth that will set man free from the Zionist enemy of God and mankind. Brian Leonard Golightly Marshall, the Christ reincarnated and rejected. All of the other Christs out there, photographed, interviewed, having thousands of followers or large churches, are, in his words, mad bastards. The evidence is recorded in his altar to himself, the Great Pyramid of Egypt, and in the measuring of the creation, logic and intelligence, not bullshit. That is my last launch to the world. So far, one has sent me a personal message, and I'm going to respond to Metzio in the next, much shorter upload.